to talk about in depth about where our county is, what we should be thinking about, what could happen if it gets worse. And I'm talking about cases. And so I'm going to give the floor to you, Dr. Ryan, and kind of discuss with this group of what's going on, what we talked about on Friday, and some things you'd like to share with us.
Thanks, Mike. There you go. That helps if I unmute myself. So what I want to show you is what's going on. This says it in spades. This is Colorado, a timeline of the incident of cases of COVID in our state. As you see, the last 3 or 4 weeks, we have gone straight up. We are breaking new records every week in terms of number of cases in any given day, our 7-day average, as well as our test positivity rate. All of them are through the roof. Following this trend, hospitalizations are up and increasing in sync with what you're seeing here in terms of case counts. And fatalities are likely here in the next couple of weeks to start trending in this same exact way. In Clear Creek County, we've experienced records as well. We now have 93 cumulative cases in the county, 7 over the last 24 hours. Our numbers are, like the rest of Colorado, going through the roof. Our nurses are doing what they can and contacting cases within a 24-hour period and doing contact tracing. But it seems to be so ubiquitous throughout the community, both in Clear Creek and in other counties, that it's very difficult to get a handle on it and stop the spread. What's driving this number, both in our county and in the state and in the country, is small gatherings, really. And on the Halloween side, there were several parties reported, despite warnings and despite advice against it. These are just perfect opportunities to spread the virus. We do know that 40 to 60% of people who have the virus are asymptomatic. And right now, or last Wednesday anyway, the current estimate is that 1 in 200 Coloradans are actively infectious. That number is probably now down to about 1 in 100, 150. So just imagine how many people in any one of our towns are potentially actively shedding virus in the community. As far as businesses are concerned, my advice is still the same. Mandate masks and enforce that. It is as the proprietor of your business, is your responsibility to do that. We don't have the manpower to do that for you. Socially distance, and more importantly, for the most of you, your choke point is your employees. If you have several cases in your establishment among your employees and it's deemed that they got it from work, that's considered an outbreak, and that's when businesses get shut down. So monitoring that as best you can and keeping employees away from the workplace that are exhibiting symptoms, don't feel well, please ask them to stay home. It's in your best interest as a proprietor of a business to have them do that. Any questions so far?
Nope.
Excellent. Like I said, most businesses are doing a great job. We do have a handful that aren't doing their job at all. And so we're working to change that as best we can. But for the most part, businesses are doing a great job in terms of mandating masks and social distancing and all that fun stuff. I have not yet heard back from the state around our designation, but given our numbers, it's without a doubt that they will move us from a level 1 to a level 2, as have many other counties around the state moved from 1 to 2 and subsequently 2 to 3. So we would only move one level at a time, despite our numbers. So it's likely this week, as soon as I hear back from them, that we'll be moving to level 2.
And is everybody familiar with what level 2 would mean for our businesses?
So all of that's on the CDPHE website on their dial, in terms of if you're a restaurant or a shop or otherwise, the numbers are in there in terms of capacity and maximum number of individuals in an establishment.
Okay.
Randy?
Yeah, just kind of a quick question, and I know it's a little bit early, but at least we put it on your radar. And that's the question about we're heading towards Christmas, and there's going to be Santas, and so a question about just kind of guidance as it relates to kids and Santa Claus.
Well, Randy, I hate to burst your bubble, but Santa Claus doesn't exist.
But I get presents every year.
Yeah, I hear you. So what do you mean? You mean like having a Santa Claus in your establishment for kids to
sit on his lap and all that stuff? Because it's not here now, but the question's going to be coming up pretty quick.
The short answer is that's a terrible idea. I mean, having a child sit on a Santa's lap within inches goes against everything we've been promoting since day one. So
yeah, and that's pretty much what I figured. But it's a question, and Christmas is coming, so that's all.
Yeah, I hear you, and I understand it's just not practical in this day and age, particularly given the spikes. And even the current models suggest this trend is going to continue unabated. And that model doesn't even consider yet a Thanksgiving and things that happen at Thanksgiving. It's really driving our numbers. Just literally having your closest family friends over for dinner, or even your family members over for dinner, are what's driving our numbers. You think about it, you're in a house, you're there for several hours, you're not wearing a mask the entire time because you're eating and drinking, and you are giving it to pretty much anyone and everyone in the house. And we've seen that in spades. If I could give you names and addresses of people that's happened to, I would, but I can't. So there's many examples in our county and in the state where that's what's driving the numbers. So I got to run. I got a call with Dr. Burks. One last question, Mark.
I just wanted to, you had mentioned earlier, you said that in the next week, we're going to be waiting to see if these death rates rise. So obviously that's going to be something that we're going to hear about after these hospitals start, continuously filling up. I know all that data is available on the public record, but that of course will inform our steps moving forward. Kind of a rhetorical question, I'm sorry, but
yeah, I mean, what we do as a county, we need to continue to do what we're doing, and even more diligently, and really forego those social events. I can't stress that enough. It's driving our numbers. It's going to continue to drive our numbers when it's when the virus is so prevalent out in the community. It really doesn't take much more than inviting your brother and his wife and family over, or you get the point. So and through the increase in cases, so goes the hospitalizations. The state's current estimates is that in the next several weeks, they're likely to run out of capacity in terms of ICU beds. And when that happens, that's really when fatalities start to increase, because if you have someone who needs an ICU bed and there isn't one available, the outcome is pretty dark.
All right. Any real quick for Dr. Ryan, he needs to go. Thanks, Dr. Ryan, for coming on and giving us an update on the way things are going with our county and staying on top of everything, and what your team's doing is outstanding. And we appreciate it. Nice to have you in our county. What are you here about a month now, or it's been about 5 months now, hasn't it?
It seems like a month, Mike. Really, it's gone by so quickly.
It's so much going on. Okay, thanks, Dr. Ryan. We appreciate your
Talk to you next week.
comments and informing us of what's going on.
Thanks.
Okay, let's move
Hey,
on.
Mike.
Yes.
Just as a clarification, if we change levels, I think, does that take us to 25% occupancy?
No, level 2 is still 50%.
Okay.
It's when we go to back to level 3, that's when the 25% comes in.
Okay.
And then rethinking everything starts to happen. So, the case, I'm glad, and what happened up in Georgetown for the outbreak, and then the public health getting a hold of it and doing it and clearing, and having businesses voluntarily closed down because they felt that there was a potential of infection there. So I believe that they're moving in the right way, the right direction up in Georgetown. And we want to prevent that from happening here. So one thing, just real quick, what we're looking at is we know that the bandwidth of the county to try to help us enforce or go into businesses and inspect, if you will, just to make sure that everybody's compliant. We actually have a couple of businesses in our community that wasn't complying 100%. So we're looking at a way that we as a local authority can help, doing some going into establishments and making and checking off a list. Do they have their mask off? Is a restaurant checking their bathrooms once an hour and things like that. So we're working on that. We talked about that in our morning meeting amongst staff this morning. So we're working on to see how we can help the county out and put us on as people that can go into places and identify if they're complying or not. So let's see, Alyssa or John, do you have anything from us for the loan program or the grant program and next steps?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Alyssa Dimberg here. So we received the recommendations back from the CCEDC on Friday. We are just going through those and getting letters prepared and anticipate awards to be announced at the beginning of this week. So be on the lookout for those. I don't want to give a specific date because I don't want to bind myself to that specific date, but I should have those out at the beginning of this week. So that's what I got.
Any questions for Alyssa?
Alyssa, you had sent out requirements that would limit, specifically what the money could be used for.
Mm-hmm.
Was that, did we miss the deadline to reply to that?
No, that was just an FYI. There was no
Okay.
action that needed to be taken on that. The reason that I did that is I wanted to make sure that businesses were prepared and started thinking about how they would provide documentation that was acceptable should they be awarded funds. So as soon as you get that letter, then you'll be able to move forward with that documentation. That was more of just an FYI.
Okay, but we will have to, if we're awarded, we'll have to respond with documentation to
Correct.
approve
Yeah.
the award. Okay.
Yep. Yeah. So that documentation, the document that I sent out, that has not changed. There are still 2 pathways that you may show documentation for reimbursement. So yeah, that hasn't changed. There will be a cover sheet that businesses will receive to be able to show me how they are proving documentation, if that makes sense.
And then would the monies not be handed out until the documentation's received? Is that like the
Correct.
steps?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah. So there's going to be several different documents that the businesses will have to sign and get back to me. And then businesses will also have to they'll have to show documentation that's approved in order to be reimbursed.
Thank you.
You are welcome. Anyone else have any questions?
Yeah, Alyssa, can I send you my email? I'm a little bit behind on this program, and we just send me the information about it.
Sure.
Cool.
Who am I hearing from right now?
This is TJ from Mountain Front.
Got it. Yep. Feel free to shoot me do you have my email address?
No, I don't. I can send you mine in a message real quick.
Okay, sounds good.
Or chat.
All right. So do we have any, let's see, Danny, let's talk about parking. We opened the streets back up. We lost some parking in our lots. Can you tell us kind of how it went, what you're seeing, and what we might be thinking different over the next several weeks?
Yeah. Can you guys hear me?
Uh-huh.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so we opened back on Minor, and we did kind of just right along the lines with everybody else. We saw a really slow weekend. And we went pretty light on Minor, just with the reopening of Minor and parkers not really knowing if it was paid or not. So we did a lot of customer service enforcement is what we kind of call it. So our ambassadors were out and just letting people know that Minor is now paid parking. We updated our website. So overall saw a really slow weekend, but it was, people really did appreciate the customer service enforcement side of everything.
All right. Anybody have any questions for Danny and the interstate team? All right, we're going to open up to Sandra. Do you have any updates for us from the tourism?
Hi, we are working on a project right now trying to figure out some kind of effort to help businesses with the Christmas season. Some kind of door-to-door pickup where we do like Christmas stockings or Christmas sacks or something like that. So we're still figuring out the details, and we have a meeting on, well, we have an internal meeting and then another meeting on Friday to try to figure this out, but we'll be going business to business and talking about that. So meanwhile, we have a to-go page on our website, similar to what Idaho Springs Chamber did, just another push to help businesses. And any other feedback, you know, always feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to chat with any of you, but we're trying to answer those hard questions of how to reach customers safely. So,
Cass, I have a quick question for you, and we can talk about this offline if you want. Keith forwarded me an email about the Shop Local initiative. I wasn't sure if we were opting into that program, and if so, I would love to work with you on that.
okay, yeah, I would love to work with you on that too. I mean, so let's talk more about that too. But yeah, all these different hats that we can put our hands in to help the community in any way we can. That's what we want to be doing. So
okay, I'll shoot you an email.
Okay, cool.
All right. We also have our building official on, Dan Wester. Do we have any questions that we might want to pose to our building department as we move into a colder season? Everybody's good? All right. Then I guess now what I'd like to do is hear from Dan.
For the builder, one question. This might be a fire. This might be a fire code question, but outdoor, I'm not planning on using any covered areas. And Dan, this might not be your expertise because this could be for the fire department. I know the fire ban's still in effect, and I'm looking at doing fire pits, gas powered. Is that something that and I'm getting into any area regulation, you know, questions there?
Well, we have heard that no open flames are allowed at all. And that's going to definitely be, we'll have to bring Kelly in on this and see what he's got to say. If he's okay with it, we really don't have a problem with it. But
okay, I can ensure,
most of the fire departments we run into from jurisdiction have just no open flames.
Okay. Any word? Do we know when this fire ban is going to be lifted? I mean, it just depends on the weather, huh?
Yep. Chief, would you like to weigh in on that?
There we go. Can you hear me? So until we get a sizable amount of snow that brings the heavier fuels, what we call the 100 and 1,000 hour lag time fuels up to increased fuel moistures, I think that we're looking at seeing some sort of burn ban in effect until after we get some really heavy snow or consistent rain. So everybody should anticipate that. We are going to either follow the county's ban or possibly exceed it, just depending on what's going on. The reason is we're in this canyon, and as many of you know, if we have a fire that starts down here, it's going to shoot up the mountainsides. So yeah, until we get some snow, I think we're probably looking at the burn ban being in effect.
So the question about the open flames in
yes, in the current stage 3, you can't have any open flames. When we go back to stage 2, we can have open flames on devices that have an on-off switch.
So even stage 3, somebody can't do an outside grill?
No. Okay. We've actually had to contact some folks in town about that.
Okay, glad I asked. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, Mike.
Yes,
this is Lindsay. Just really quick, I wanted to let everyone know that there is another grant application we've posted on clearcreekedc.org that will help pay for outdoor seating expenses and different things. It's put out by the Colorado Restaurant Association, and that the first round is open until I believe it's November 13th. And so that is now available for anyone who is interested.
Yep, that is true. November 13th. Our consumer protection specialist, Becca Abrahamson, was part of that process. And so if you have any specific questions, I will forward you to her.
All right, thank you.
The question I have related to that, Mayor, I know that this isn't a possibility for businesses on Minor Street, but I'm curious as I'm communicating to businesses within Idaho Springs, not on Minor Street. Are you still allowing modifications of premises to use public space for outdoor seating?
Yes, they can get an encroachment agreement from the city. Yes, we are.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Thanks. I didn't want to start telling people about this grant and then get us in trouble.
No, we're still working now not closing down Minor Street. Now Bojo's that could do something on the mall on the south side of the building, things like that. Or if some other businesses, or whether it's Smoking Yards or Marion's, I could figure out a way to utilize that. Yeah, we're definitely still encouraging the encroachment agreements to value the outside as much as we can. All right, with that, we've got Dan Ebert on the line with Evergreen National Bank. Dan, do you have any updates, maybe with a second round of some PPP or something?
Information on another round of PPP. See what the government decides when they ever come to a decision. We are seeing the SBA is doing some forgivenesses that have been submitted, which is nice. So about half.
Can you guys hear Dan? I can't hear him at all.
Yeah, it might be my headset. Can you hear me?
Oh, there you go. That's a little better.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So no information on another round of PPP is what I said to start. And then the only thing I can say is that we are starting to see people that have submitted their forgiveness applications in. We are getting some of those approved by the Treasury Department.
Okay. Anybody have any questions for Dan? All right. Thanks for being with us today, Dan. All right. So one of the other things that we need to talk about today, we've talked about these pickup zones, a couple of parking places here and there to allow visitors to come in, park real quick, run in and pick something out, or have a curbside to that location. We talked about the city. Well, first, I think it's kind of gone both ways. One, ask and request areas that would fit best for your business. And then the city was going to look at going out there to see how these laid out. Excuse me. One thing we don't want to get into is all of a sudden we have 10 parking places blocked off on one block. So we're really going to have to be strategic on where we put these. There was an idea of putting these on the avenues and not on Minor Street. I guess, Steve, you already kind of did that by putting your area on the west side of your building. I'm going to open this up for thoughts from everybody. Do we like taking some spots off of Minor Street, or do we want to try to create these areas on the avenues?
I have a question just about even doing it. While we're still at 50%, I don't know what other people's to-go business is like. We don't have enough to-go business to justify losing parking spots. Is this something more that we should do if more restrictions come? Are people doing, a pizza joint definitely would do more to-goes, but is it really worth giving up the spots right now while we're still at 50% capacities?
I'm going to open up that for a conversation. Chip or Lindsay?
Yeah, that's a good question. You know, and I think for us, and I really haven't talked to my management team, but I think for us, you know, having some space that we could do, because we do a fair amount of to-goes. Now that we're in the pandemic, people just don't want to go inside, so we are doing a lot more to-goes. And yeah, I think you probably have to be kind of consistent about it is the one thing, but you know, like you probably should be taking that into concern. I really think we're probably going to end up going to the 25% before too long. and even, yeah, so.
So I have a question on that also. How do all the business people feel about if we go to 25%? You know, my perspective is somewhat, is it worth it at that point? Would almost prefer a shutdown, but I know that's extreme. I'm just kind of throwing thoughts out there. 25% just doesn't, it's kind of, let's guarantee that we lose money.
Yeah, and the way that I look at my 25%, Greg, I can accommodate the amount of tables I've got inside right now. That would be 25% because my place is so small. I still have to do the 6-foot rule, and even 25% is about all the capacity I could get in here anyway. So it's really not going to affect my indoor dining at 25%, if that makes sense. Any other thoughts about pickup areas?
And I got to be honest, I'm not sure if the 25% really makes, because I think we're probably less than 25% just with the current numbers, just because of the maximums for us.
Lindsay, you have any thoughts about the pickup areas? And we got to remember, also what we got to remember, and John said it this morning, the first hour is free anyway. So, you know, the first hour, now you have to be registered to get that first free hour. But, you know, just any thoughts, Lindsay?
I think just, you know, if there's a way for getting some signage put together so we can clearly mark spaces. And I apologize if I missed something. I had to jump on another call for a minute. But yeah, I would say just clearly marking the pickup spots. I'd love to have 1 or 2 in front of the deli because, again, in the morning, that's really what we would rely on during ski season. Trying to think of, I mean, I don't know, as far as the parking goes, I mean, I know we've got to stick with it, but I'm still in the boat at this point, like just scrap the paid parking until we get out of this slump. But I mean, I know that's not really an option that's on the table.
Mayor Hillman, I'd like to,
go ahead.
Can I share my screen really fast? This is, I've been working with Danny, and Danny, jump in anytime here. So we've been working on finding some signs for the program. Originally, we were thinking about creating a sticker overlay for some other signs that we have, but then we had some concerns about them maybe walking off and being very difficult to source again. So Danny found this sign. This says 10-minute parking, but we're talking about this could be enforced as 15-minute parking. I'll let her speak to that. This one is pretty cheap and is available on Prime, and so we could get these pretty much instantaneously. And then what the plan would be to purchase maybe 16 of these, that there could be 4 on each block. Today, I went and straw polled business owners that were open when I was walking around before lunch. I talked to several people are interested in having this sort of parking available, but there are people who also think that it's not necessary. So I'd say of the maybe 10 people I talked to, it was pretty split. I know that's not a complete comprehensive look at everyone. Some of you are on this call, so I focus my efforts on people I know are not talking on these calls. But I just wanted to show you this sign. This is one of the ones that we found. There's other versions that they have. You can find anything pretty much. But Danny found this one and thought it might be a good kind of compromise for the program. And so I just wanted to share that with you guys.
All right, thanks, John.
I would say just limit the parking spots to only what people really want. Like, don't have a bunch set aside. Just set aside, like you were saying, not a bunch on one block, but just 1 or 2 on each block. Kind of limit it.
And I think that makes a lot of sense. And these aren't, if we put these in front of the deli, that doesn't mean that this is for deli use only. This is an area that somebody can walk, you know, they can park there and then walk down to the cidery and pick something up, or they can walk further down to Azteca and pick something up if they can't find. So these will be, you know, for anybody, just a designated area and leaving a couple of parking places open. How do we want to move forward with this? Do we want to wait a couple more weeks before we do this? Or should we and go ahead and order the sign, or should we get the signs and put them up immediately?
I don't think that you have to put them up immediately. I don't think it'll be an issue until we get more into winter.
Okay. All right. And what are those about $30 a sign? And John, you said we can get those at 15-minute instead of 10-minute. Can they change that?
Yeah, they have a couple. Danny and I can work on that together. I think that we're going to be like less than $25 a sign. We can get down to $10 a sign if we don't do reflective, but I know reflective signs are kind of important to our public works especially. So I just want to make sure that we get something that our public safety officers and our public works workers are comfortable with. And those are about $23.
Okay.
One thing I might add is our public works staff, they've already acquired the portable stands for whatever sign we come up with. So we do have 16 of those portable stands. You've seen them out on the street. They have those temporary no parking areas designated. So it's that type of sign. So this is a very flexible system. And so we thought that this way we can add or take away if a certain area wants to have a spot, we can very quickly add that spot. So my recommendation would be that we go ahead and order the sign
from the Colorado Restaurant Association.
Okay, what do you need?
The sign that John recommended, we go ahead and order those if everyone's good with that, and have them, and we'll have those. So if things do tighten down, we can add more signs. If they loosen up, we can take them away. But I think that's a relatively low cost. It looks like an official sign, get it reflective, and we can get those pretty quickly. And then we can get those out to those areas that want them and those businesses that would like to have them. Wow, I shut everything down.
How about me unmute? Do you know how tall these stands are, Andy or John?
You can see them out on the street. They're probably, I don't know, maybe 3 feet, 4 feet high, and they're weighted, and they can be used for other types of signs as well. So it's good for public works because they can use them for, you know, marking off no parking in construction areas and things like that. So they're pretty versatile. So the only thing that we would be committed to would be the actual sign itself for pickup.
And we're going to nominate Lindsay to take all the signs out and put them back out the next morning, right?
Sure.
That way she can
morning
decide,
person.
that way she can decide where they go.
Well, also we can see these things a potential of these things walking off, and for us to have our crews out there picking them up every evening, we can't do that. We're going to need some help from the businesses to make sure that they bring them in at night when they close and put them back out in the morning.
I like the idea that you have some variability, because again, this is all new. We don't know what we're doing exactly. So that's nice that you can, you know, move things along depending on what you discover.
Another adaptive management. Yeah, that's what I like to do. Do things that we can change a little bit, and tweak a little bit to make it fit our program. Chief Malenko, are you still on with it? Oh, there you are. He's where Alice is. He's right in the middle of our Brady Bunch chart. You're right in the middle. Do you have anything else that you want to talk about with us? Oh, you're still muted. Still muted, Chief.
There we go. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was on multiple screens. No, the only thing I'd like to add is that, and it didn't come up today, which I'm glad, but I really think all of our future plans, regardless of what happens on Minor, that we keep the segment of 17th between Minor and the back lots two-way. I think that has had just such a positive effect on traffic flow. People trying to get in there gives people an option. So that's all that I would like to add. I just do want to point something out though. Keep in mind if we post these 15-minute parking or 10-minute parking, that we're not always going to have somebody available to enforce them. So I think it's a great idea, and we should move forward on it. I just don't want anybody to be disappointed or frustrated if we don't have an officer available when the complaint comes in.
Well, what we're hoping also is that working with Interstate, that they could be the
right.
Right. And and John and I had definitely chatted about that. And, our ambassadors are going to be present and just make sure, we don't, because the signs do say 10 minutes and we know we kind of want to keep it within the 15 minute. And we're going to work to not enforce those, be so harsh on enforcing those spots, but we definitely want to make sure and note that the same car is not parked there for, 30 minutes to an hour. And so, our ambassadors are fully aware of that. And John and I have definitely chatted about that as well.
Okay.
If we have an issue, we notice somebody's staying over, do we just contact you guys, an ambassador, or you guys deal with it? What's the best way to deal with it?
Yeah, definitely. I'll, in this group chat, I'll text the ambassador phone. If you text, if you can text this phone, the ambassador always has it on them. If you call, they might not pick up right away just because they are out in the field enforcing. But a text is probably the best way to get a hold of them, because they can get to wherever you need immediately. So I'll just put it in the message in the group chat, so everybody has that.
Thank you.
Of course.
And just to let everybody know, the city is currently negotiating a contract with Interstate. We haven't gotten there. We've got some, it'll go back and forth a couple of times before we get the final agreement, but we're currently working on that right now, and we'll bring the details back to this group because I would like to keep everybody here informed and get ideas of is there something we have missed or we should think about before we sign the contract. So just let everybody know that they'll get a chance to weigh in on the contract and the language in that contract. All right, we got about 10 minutes left. Andy, I'm going to open up for the floor. Let's just open up for a roundtable discussion. Andy?
Mayor, did you want to just touch on the emergency ordinance that we discussed and considered today?
Are you talking about with us?
Enforcing public health ordinances or health orders?
I mentioned that a little bit earlier when Dr. Rock was on, and I just, you might have been on the phone. But again, we're looking at us creating a way for us to locally help enforce the public health orders. So we'll continue to work on that. We talked with our attorney this morning to figure out how we do that, what kind of ordinance, and it would be an emergency ordinance because a regular ordinance takes about 3 months. And this is critical, needs to be happening now. So the city council will be looking at this
next Monday.
Next Monday, right? Next Monday to make a decision on that. All right. Let's hear some discussion.
Along those lines, is there any way of doing a posting like there is for restaurants? If you don't pass your health code, your health inspections and that, you get posted negatively. Is there any way? That's kind of concerning that that there's some places that just are not dealing with this at all.
We talked about parking if one of our officers had time to stand in front of the building and said, this business is not complying with the order. And this isn't a first, you go in and you find violation, you said, hey, we really, we need our health of our community, and it's laying on the backs of not just the residents, but the workers and the operators of our businesses and everybody. And if we've got people that are thumbing their nose at us and saying, you know, we don't support this, we don't care. Yeah, I think the first should be a warning, and the second, yeah, we're going to find out some more information whether the city has the authority to pull their business license so they couldn't operate legally. Then if they start to operate without a business license, that runs into more trouble. The whole idea of this, as we all know, is compliance, compliance, compliance. Let's stay healthy. Let's keep our community and our county open for business. But we all got to do our due diligence. You know, like I said, as a business owner, I am. As a mayor, I have different ways of protecting this community. And if everybody, you know, participates in this, I think we'll stay healthy. Jonathan, you have anything for us?
Did you want to, I guess I had made that map to look at parking areas, but it sounds like we're going to wait on that anyway. So maybe
Yeah,
that's
we can wait on that.
Well, I just want to be clear that are we wanting to go ahead and order the signs? That would be my recommendation. And we already have at least one business that's doing takeout area. I think we probably need to, if I'm thinking we ought to think about proceeding with a certain number of areas. I'm hearing we need to be flexible, and I agree with that, either increase the number of areas or decrease, but it sounds like we do have several businesses in the downtown that do want to use a takeout area, and we're getting those signs. So I'm thinking we probably should move forward with that unless this group disagrees.
Well, it'll take us probably, what, 3 days, 2 to 3 days to get the signs. Is that about right, John?
Oh yeah, they're on Prime, so probably about like that.
How would we like to move forward with this?
Do we want to try a couple on the side streets, the cross avenues, and then those businesses that want them on the main street on Minor, put a couple out on Minor?
Yeah, we could do a hybrid situation. That would be fine too. Maybe a couple of, I see that Asta likes the Avenue idea. So maybe it's a combination. It's a hybrid, a few on Minor, and then of course we already have Steve on the Avenue. Steve?
And we're hoping to try to launch on the 12th on 14th Avenue. A grab and go operation.
Say it again, Steve.
We're hoping to launch a grab and go on 14th and the 12th. So if we can get some signs by then, that would help. Otherwise, we'll have to get our own.
I think we should probably have standard signs on the right of way.
Yeah, I think that's the idea, is to standardize the signs, John. You're right. So that, and I like the sign you showed, John, because that looks pretty official to me. It has a time limit on there. It's very simple and clear. Takeout only, 10 minutes or 15 minutes.
Steve, where would you like to see your signs at? Or how many?
On the west side. Basically, we're hoping to have that area that's not parking right now, where people can pull up there because we wouldn't be losing any parking spots, and they can pull through. We have a west door, then we can set them up with grab and go. We're trying to time it for when the ski areas open up. Do you think the 12th would be a good time to start implementing that?
Are you talking about November 12th?
Yeah.
I think that gives us a couple of weeks. I think that would be okay. Any thoughts from the group?
I know we would love to see it on the Avenue as well. TJ.
Well, let's go ahead and order the signs. If the group's good with it, we'll have them. We'll have these portable signs, and we'll just be flexible. We'll work with businesses. Obviously, we can't make a whole side.
Can I make a comment? Can you guys hear?
Yeah, take out, but we'll try to put them out strategically and move them around if need be.
Asta, do you have something to say?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Sorry. My thought is, I love the idea of the pickup. I'm just still concerned with, we lost like half the parking in the back parking lot. So my thought would be to do fewer at first, and then when we get some parking back, add a couple more. I don't know. Maybe we don't need those spots, but I mean, I feel like every spot is pretty valuable.
Oh, yeah. And I think that's kind of what Chip said, that, doing it today we've got a few weeks. And I'm hoping I'd have to relook at the schedule on our parking lot. But and I've been out last week, so I haven't been back there to look. But from what we've been talking with CDOT about, is they're going to be very aggressive to get out of there. They know how important that parking is to us. So yes, I agree.
So Steve, I'm sorry. Steve wanted to start like next week. I don't see any reason why we don't order the signs, and he could start in his location. And then like Asta said, we add more as time goes on.
Yep. I think that should be our course of action.
So it's okay to order the signs then, correct? And then we can just put them up as we go?
Yes.
Great. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. All right. We've got another meeting to jump on at 3 o'clock. Does anybody have anything else? George, you have anything?
Yeah, I need to get an invite for that meeting as always.
Okay.
Me too. This is Lindsay.
Okay. Will you send that out for us, John?
That one comes, yeah, I can get that done.
I'll do it.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Thanks, everybody. If you have anything that comes up over the next several days, give us a call. You know how to reach us.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Have a good one. Thanks.
Good seeing everybody.